we're coming to a close on the book of Revelation, which is really coming to a close on the entire Bible in some ways. We're seeing the end, the conclusion of everything in Scripture, but guess what? It's still a new beginning. It doesn't stop there. It's just beyond these pages and what God says in this prophecy. It hints at more, it points at more, but it doesn't tell you what it is. Not exactly.
Just little glimpses.
Just little glimpses. And so real quick, as we're starting here in chapter 21 and bringing this teaching to a close, I want you to remember these things as we've been going through the book of Revelation. The construct of the book of Revelation was the massive menorah. And Nathaniel, if you get a chance, could you bring that up on the overheads, please? And also remember this, it's a story about, there's two storylines in the book of Revelation, remember? It's about a wedding. There are two brides, there are two grooms. One bride and groom are good, and one bride and groom are evil. Okay? The enemy, the adversary, Satan, and his bride, which is called the whore, they've been destroyed, and the enemy has now been thrown into the lake of fire at this point. And the true groom and the true bride, the Messiah, Yeshua, God, in the flesh, and his bride, his chosen people, those who have been set apart to him, those who have been in every level of relationship with him. Remember, servanthood, friendship, inheritance, and all three of those together is marriage. Now comes everything that God has been wanting to restore. And we're coming to the end of the 1,000-year reign. It's talked about the great white throne judgment that has just taken place, and how evil and good have been separated, and evil has been given its place in the lake of fire along with death. And now comes the ultimate reward for God and his people. And that's where we're starting. In fact, I just want to read a sentence here from our book where we wrote about the book of Revelation from a Hebraic perspective. And this one, volume 3, is Two Brides, Two Destinies. But we said this about these chapters. We said the last two chapters of the book of Revelation are unique. They describe events that are rarely revealed anywhere else in the Bible. These events immediately follow the 1,000-year reign that ends with the great white throne judgment. They describe our ultimate destiny and the hope of the bride. They reveal the purpose, gift, and the restored life God is still offering to all of mankind.
Read the first verse.
Let me read the first verse.
Yeah.
If you want to, we have recorded all these teachings, so if you want to catch up on all this, which would be quite a bit of listening, I recommend that you look those up online. So obviously you're coming to the end of things if you're here for the first time. So 21 verse 1. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth. And yes, the Hebrew word there is renewed, hadashah. For the old heaven and the old earth had passed away, and the sea was no longer there. Also I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, or renewed Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared like a bride, beautifully dressed for her husband.
A lot of people propose that our destiny lies in heaven, right? When we go to heaven, you hear that phrase a lot. We can't wait to go to heaven, right? Yes? Well, that is really kind of a misrepresentation. Got a little ring. It's kind of a misrepresentation of reality, isn't it? Because what happens here? We don't go to heaven in the long run, do we? We go back to a restored earth, a renewed earth. It's a new heaven, a renewed heaven, and a renewed earth. God remakes it. And what do you think the model is for the new heaven and the new earth? It's the original. Who said that? Excellent. Brian. Excellent. And the original was the Garden of Eden. And as we go through these last two chapters, you'll see echoes of the Garden of Eden. In addition, when I read this and was preparing for it, what popped into my mind was Matthew 5:17.
I was just thinking of that. I was like, I'm going to go there next when I get a break.
Yeah.
Perfect.
A new heaven and a new earth. Where else is that said in the Bible? Matthew 5:17. Let me read this passage. Now, I was just reading the verse before. I'm going to read it. It doesn't have anything to do with my point, but it's a cool verse. So I'll read it anyway. Let your light shine before men in such a way that they may see your good works. Ooh, I like that.
And
So it's not just a warm, fuzzy feeling that you get to cuddle and hide and put under a basket, is it? Powerful relationship is one where everybody's aware that you're kind of weird. Because in our world, if you walk the walk and talk the talk, you're perceived as weird, aren't you?
yeah.
That they may see your good works and glory and glorify your Father who is in heaven. See the purpose of your witness? And I'm not talking about verbiage. I'm talking about action here. That's what the verse is talking about. It's talking about action. The purpose? It's to be a light to the nation so other people can go, you know, you've got something that I don't. And it's pointing to the Creator. It's pointing to something bigger than me and you. And it gets people's attention on the real reality rather than this smoke screen that we live in sometimes. Okay, enough of that. Matthew 5:17. Do not think they have come to abolish the law or the prophets. So Torah and the Nevi'im, right?
This is Yeshua speaking.
Okay, so those, there's three sections of the Tanakh, the Old Testament, right? He's specifically referring to two. Do not think that I've come to abolish them. I have not come to abolish them, but to fulfill them. Now, some people say that, well, he came to fulfill them, so now they're abolished. They use this verse to promote. This is the church's primary foundational verse that is used to supply. I've been in arguments with people, Darashas, as us Jews would say, about this very point. And they pull this verse out and say, well, it means fulfill, yes. But in the fulfilling of it, now it's abolished. The law has been nailed to the cross, and now we don't have to listen, obey, give any attention to it. The feasts are no more. We don't have to do that. Our eating styles, we can eat whatever moves or doesn't move, etc. And it's all been abolished. And I'm going, okay, so the way you're interpreting this verse is, do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I did not come to abolish the law, but to abolish the law.
Yeah.
That's really the proper way to understand it, if that's a correct word. Is that right?
No.
John, this is a study in contrast.
Exactly. In fact, let's keep reading. Verse 18. For truly, this is Yeshua, Jesus talking, not Fred or Paul. Okay? For truly, I tell you, what does that phrase mean in a Hebraic concept? For truly, I tell you. It means that God is jumping up and down on the stage and going, I'm really trying to make a point here. Okay, so what's the point? Until heaven and earth pass away. Oh my gosh. We just read it here. He's referring to something John gets to see and write about umpteen books later. For truly I tell you, until heaven and earth pass away, do not the smallest letter, yud, or stroke, shall pass from the law until all is accomplished. You know, in Hebrew, there's little decorative little whatnots above each one of the letters, and they refer sometimes to musical notes, okay? So embedded in the smallest letter, and even the music that was in Scripture was to be sung. Embedded in all of those little teeny tiny details, Yeshua, the creator of the text himself, is saying there's something to be had. There's something that God is promising or predicting that will take place. You know, so when we read Old Testament passages and we just kind of speed read, how much stuff are we leaving behind? How much stuff are we, you know, it's like, you know, those little pomegranate little things on the priest's garments, you know, they're kind of like these little things, you know, bunches of them, lining. They mean something. All these little things that God has embedded in the text, we read through sometimes in our ignorance, and I'm talking to myself as well, and they don't understand that God has a message, even in that funny little detail that we don't have a clue what it means. So, for truly I tell you, not heaven and earth shall pass away until the smallest thought that God has embedded in his text comes to pass. Whoever then, now here comes the sledgehammer. Whoever then annuls, you know what annul means? You know, marriages get annulled, makes no more.
Basically the word abolish.
Abolish. Whoever then abolishes or annuls one of the least of these commandments, where do we find the commandments? In the law, right? And teaches others to do the same shall be great in the kingdom. No, it doesn't say. Shall be least in the kingdom of heaven. And whoever keeps and teaches them shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. Now, of course, we all realize that there's laws that aren't applicable anymore today. And they've been removed, and, right? No, there are no such laws. This thing's driving me crazy.
Yeah, we know.
I think we need to take Yeshua at his word. How many of us have taught ourselves, convinced ourselves that, oh, that's not applicable to me? Now, there are certainly some laws that are not applicable to everybody. Certainly, laws about women aren't applicable to me. They're applicable to women. Laws about priests, men, you have to find the category that you are and realize these laws are not or are applicable to you. But let me tell you, the vast majority of the laws are ubiquitously applicable. In other words, they're applicable to most everybody.
How about this one? Love your neighbor as yourself. That applies to everyone. In other words, be nice to others like you want to be treated.
And that passage is not Jesus, Yeshua, was not saying, okay, all the law can be boiled down to that. There's really only one law now. That one. What he was saying is, if you analyze the law that he gave to Moses on Mount Sinai, if you analyze it, you can boil the essence, the kernel of the essence of truth into what Adam just said. The law is all to reflect two things: relationship with him and relationship yours with others. The law is, if you boil it all down, the essence of it are those two concepts. He was not saying that now all you have to do is this warm, fuzzy feeling and analyze everything in your day according to how you feel about love. He was not saying that. He was trying to crystallize the essence of the law.
John, let me jump in here for a second. Here's what's interesting in the passage of Revelation, and John connected it to Matthew 7, or 5:17. So, does that imply that the Torah does pass away when the earth is renewed and made new again? Does that imply that? Well, let me stress something. As we're going to read here in the text, Evil is done away with. That means there's no more hatred, no more murder, no more adultery, no more stealing, no more of those things. So why do you need a law to tell you not to do those things if that doesn't exist anymore? Do you understand what I'm saying? It's not that God negates the law, it's abolished. There's nothing to apply it to anymore. Why do we need the reminder not to murder when murder doesn't even exist anymore, or the thought? There's only renewed, we've been renewed in body, soul, and spirit. The creation's been renewed. There's no more death. So why do you need that as a reminder is kind of the understanding. Because the law, Scripture says, is eternal. You can read, cross-reference Isaiah 65 and 66, where it talks about the renewed heaven and the renewed earth. And guess what it says there? Every Rosh Chodesh and every Sabbath you'll be coming to the New Jerusalem and worshiping God together. Well, what's the Rosh Chodesh? That's the first month. That's a feast. That's a kind of a festival. What's the Sabbath? The weekly festival. All the feasts, the yearly feasts that you have certain months, will be doing those things still. Why? Why?
Reminders.
Remembrance, anniversary, right? It's to remember what God did for us. It's a time to worship God in a certain way. So, certain things will still apply and still exist, and others will no longer apply to the creation. So keep that in mind.
So my question is, and I think God's question to us all is, how much do you really want to be great in the kingdom of heaven? Well, God measures the desire to be great, your and mine's desire to be great in the kingdom of heaven. By what do you suppose?
By the way you keep commandments in the law.
You have all the correct answers, Sandy. Do you think it's like,
Can you repeat it?
I will in a minute. Do you think it's like, I really want to be great in the kingdom of heaven? And God goes, ooh, I like that. And think of your children. You tell them how you want to obey, and then they say, oh, I really want to do that because I want to be great in my parents' eyes. Well, that's a good start, isn't it? But unfortunately, it's only a start. What's the finish? Thank you, Brian and Sandy. It's the finishing of it. Putting your actions into practice on a regular day. So it doesn't mean that you have to be perfect. What does it mean? God wants to look down on you and me and go, you know what? They're not perfect. They can't be perfect. Only Yeshua could live a perfect life and did. But look at them. I'm proud of you because they're studying the Word and trying the best they can to apply it on a daily basis. And how many of us are doing that? Should be some hands going up. Yeah? Good. That's the greatest way to put a smile on God's face. And man, I'll tell you, I want to be one of those guys that puts smiles on God's faces. And how many of us know when we're not putting smiles on God's face? Has it happened over the last few days, months, let's say? So let this passage be a witness and a reminder to motivate us when we're wanting to walk off the edge of the cliff and die, which is really what sin is. Let these passages go, forget that. I want to be great in the kingdom. I want to invest in that, not in the other kingdom, which is death. I want to invest in life. It's not great in the kingdom that we're after. It's what is great in the kingdom? What, 3 crowns stacked on top of your head? No. Remember, it's relationship. Do we want to be in the back row or in the front row when it comes to God's presence? You know, the front row people, I'm not saying anything literal here. The front row people, they're given more responsibility. You think it's just going to be all harps in heaven? Just remember, we're not in heaven. Started that off with this. You think it's just going to be all harp playing? Boring? No, it's going to be far more exciting than our lives are now. We just can't imagine it. Man, I tell you, I don't want to be in the back row. Who does God give more to? The parable of the talents comes to mind. He's going to give more to those that have made an investment and have given God back a return, even under these zero interest rate environments. Let's get them a return. What do you think?
Let me read this from Isaiah 65. For look, I create a new renewed heaven and a renewed earth. Past things will not be remembered. They will no more come to mind. So be glad and rejoice forever in what I am creating. For look, I am making Jerusalem a joy and her people a delight. I will rejoice in Jerusalem and take joy in my people. The sound of weeping will no longer be heard in it, no longer the sound of crying. No more will babies die in infancy. No more will an old man die short of his days. He who dies at 100 will be thought young, and at less than 100 thought cursed. And it goes on. But here's what's interesting. If you continue on to these verses, in 66, it says, where was it? Verse 66, verse 2. The kind of person of whom I look with favor is one with a poor and humble spirit who trembles at my word. And then you continue on to 66, here, chapter 66 in Isaiah, verse 10. Rejoice with Jerusalem, rejoice, be glad with her, all you who love her. Rejoice, rejoice with her, all of you who mourn for her, so that you nurse and are satisfied by her comforting breasts, drinking deeply and delightedly in the overflow of her glory. For Adonai says, I will spread shalom over her like a river, and the wealth of nations like a flooding stream. You will nurse and be carried in her arm and cuddled in her lap, like someone comforted by his mother. I will comfort you in Jerusalem, and you will be comforted. I mean, this is all end times reference. And then in the last verses, I already mentioned this, in 23. Every month on Rosh Hashanah and every week on Sabbath. This is the end times. Because it talks about, just before that, about the renewed heaven and renewed earth. So on every Rosh Hashanah and every week on Shabbat, everyone living will come to worship in my presence, says Adonai. As they leave, they will look on the corpses of the people who rebelled against me. What did we just read in Revelation that took place in the previous chapter? God destroyed all those who were evil. He threw them all in the lake of fire. So it says, every week as they leave, they will look at the corpses of the people who rebelled against me, for their worm will never die, and their fire will never be quenched, but they will be abhorrent to all humanity. It's giving you a glimpse. And as we read further in Revelation, it describes in detail what Jerusalem looks like. And Jerusalem is a city and a nation and a people. As you read about it, it's just not one thing. It represents multiple things.
Verse 2, Revelations 21:2, I'll read it. And I saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, made ready as a bride adorned for her husband. And this reminded me of another passage, John 14:1-3. Let me read this. This is really kind of cool. Do not let your hearts be troubled. Believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many dwelling places. If it were not so, I would have told you, for I go to prepare a place for you. If I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you to myself. That where I am, there you may be also. Here we have a fulfillment of this passage that John is exposing to us. And as some of you know, if you've read some of our material, this speaks, in my Father's house are many dwelling places, or many rooms, or many mansions, depending on your translation. This echoes what? The marriage of
Ketubah.
a Hebrew man to a lady. He would, after they would write the marriage contract, he would go away. They were both responsible. They were now married. But he would go away. And what would he do? He would go away and prepare a place for her. Yeshua died, and he said, I'm going to go away. You can't follow me. And the disciples were all up in arms. What do you mean you can't follow you? We didn't follow you. Try to stop us. You know? Well, they didn't have a clue what was really being communicated, did they? But he did go away, and they didn't follow. But he said, I'll prepare a place for you. Well, it's an echo of the Hebrew marriage. The groom, after writing the marriage contract, Ketubah, would go away, and part of his contractual obligations was to prepare a place for his bride. And in ancient times, what the groom would do is he would build a lean-to. No, actually a really nice little room. He's in a hurry. Okay, lean-tos go up a lot quicker. He would build a room on the side of his father's estate. Remember, because he was going to inherit that estate someday. So he would build a special little house on the side of his father's estate, because someday he would be able to bring her back and have a place. And of course, only the father was able to say when it was ready to be lived in. And so the groom would then go. That was the beginning of the snatching of the bride. Remember the story? So here we have a passage that is echoing back that ancient Roman cultural idea that we see throughout the scriptures. We see these cultural concepts laced throughout. And if you aren't familiar with the Hebraicness of the text, you miss all this intimate language, such as being referred to here. God has gone away, and he has prepared a place. And
John, the New Jerusalem is his place.
Exactly. He says the holy city, New Jerusalem, is coming down. It's all prepared for his bride to dwell in. And now God, we're going to get to some verses here that are just really cool. God is going to dwell with mankind forever. And the New Jerusalem, there's tons of symbolism embedded in this descending New Jerusalem out of heaven. We'll get into more of it. We're almost all out of time here.
John, let me add something here. Now imagine this. This is literally what the Messiah is doing. You're a groom. You've had your wedding ceremony. You've spent all this time preparing a place. You think the place is dressed up? You think you're like decking it out for the first time you're carrying your bride over the threshold into her new place that you created for with your own hands? Don't you think it's going to be decorated? It's going to look beautiful? That's what's being described here. It's adorned like a bride, beautifully dressed for her husband. The Messiah, literally, he's being romantic here. He's saying, I'm bringing the dwelling place down, the New Jerusalem, and I have decked it out just for you. That's what he's saying. But we don't see that. We need to go a step further and understand this is for us. He is doing it this way for us. He's saying, look how beautiful it looks. It's just for you. It's for you. It's for you. It's for you. Come on in. He's excited. This is not like, well, here it is now. Get to work. He's here to romance as well. Yes, there will be work going on. But when it's all joy and no evil, hey, it's all good. But that's what's being conveyed here. The Messiah is coming and going, look what I have made for you.
When I was reading this, I felt God was saying, look up the word Jerusalem. I go, look, there's nothing there. I know that word. That's where you go wrong right off the bat, right? And so I looked it up, and yeah, it was something cool, and
City of peace.
yeah, okay. And I'll tell you what I found in a minute. But then Jody and I were talking a couple of days ago, and she asked me what the root word of Torah was. I go, I'm laying in bed, right? I don't know. You know, I can't remember. I'm getting old. Losing memory faster than I can put it in. And so, anyway, I have my iPad right next to my bedstand, so I look it up. And it's Yara. I thought, oh, that's cool. So, it means foundation, a few other things.
Jerusalem.
And so then I'm reviewing my notes yesterday, right? And I'm looking up what I had looked up under Jerusalem. Well, Jerusalem is made up of two words. Of course, most of you know one of the words is shalom, which means
Shalom.
peace. Shalom is how it's pronounced usually. Jerusalem. Well, it comes from the Hebrew word for peace, shalom. And that's kind of cool. It means peace. It means complete. It means perfect. Sound, finished, restored, reward, peace, of course, we all know. And then I'm looking at my notes and I'm going, wait a minute. Yud, Resh, Hey,
Yara.
Yara. I'm going, no. Wasn't that, I do have a short-term memory. Wasn't that the word I looked up for Jody for the root word of Torah the other day? So I had to make sure, and sure enough, Yud Resh Hey is the root word for Torah. But it's also one of the two words for Jerusalem. I'm going, now that is fascinating. I go, what does that mean? And I got to thinking, I go, what God is saying is, this concept of peace means completion and foundation. And this concept of Torah or Yara, which means foundation, it means that Jerusalem and those that dwell in Jerusalem, what's their foundation? Torah. And from that Torah comes what?
Peace.
Peace.
The peace
So,
of Bethlehem.
how many of us have peace? Well, let's ask it in the negative. How many of us don't have peace? You don't have to raise your hand. But you can, and I'm going to write your name down. And I'm glad all Now, if you don't have peace, God is giving us the key to the kingdom of peace. And what is it?
Torah.
Meditation. No. Finding a tree and sitting under it for 4 or 5 hours. Of course, with your favorite latte or something. Is that going to bring peace? No. What's peace? Putting your lifestyle and the standard that you live by and making it look like the laws of God. Oh, that can't be it. It's all been abolished. Well, what you've done is just abolished your peace. So if you want peace, there's something you don't have it, or maybe you have partial peace. It's kind of like having a partial apple pie. There's a void there. Somebody has taken a piece of your pie, right? And that guy is you and the enemy. So how do you restore the whole pie?
Potentially.
You can fill it back in. We can create new apple pie. All we have to do is start to obey God. And you know exactly what's ripping you off. You know exactly the things that you know, don't you? I know I do. You know exactly the things that you're doing that are a little twisted, that don't quite echo God's law. Remove them out of your life and replace it with obedience. That's easy to say, isn't it? It's difficult to do. But God is not requiring perfection. He's requiring a heart that's running the race. And I've said this before. You will have peace if you can say, you know, I can look back on my life yesterday, a week ago, a month ago, a year ago, a decade ago, whatever, and I can go, you know, I'm not perfect, but I am improving. I am integrating more and more of the principles in my life. And look, right there's some crust for me. And the apple filling is soon to follow. You can create peace in your life, can't you? God's giving us the keys to the kingdom of peace right here. And usually what happens is people go, oh, nice keys. Wonder what they open. We don't realize that we actually have the keys that will restore life back to us and those around us. If only we'll pick them up. How many of us have old keys? Like a key drawer. I don't know what it opens, but I don't want to throw it away. You never know what it might open. Well, that key to the kingdom of heaven is sitting in that junk drawer. We need to figure out which one of those keys it is, pull it out, and remember, the Hebraic concept is knowledge is nice, but what comes with the concept of knowledge is use. You're a nincompoop if you know something and don't apply it. Oh, I know I got those keys. There they sit. I know I can have all kinds of success and peace in my life, but you know, I want to walk my own way. I want to do my own thing. And all of this obedience stuff, no, it's for somebody else to do. I'm just the way that I am. Of course, none of you would ever said such things. You know, it's always that other guy that's fighting with alcohol, or that other guy that's fighting with pornography, or that other guy that just has a little lying problem, or whatever. Maybe it's a speeding problem. Is God wanting us to look exemplary, especially in a world that doesn't even ask for it anymore? Yes. That's our goal, and that's the key to peace. You want peace? Figure out what you're not doing and ignoring or excused away, because we have to excuse it away. Otherwise, it drives us nuts. Find that thing that you're excusing away and not addressing, and address it and change it. Guaranteed, you'll have peace.
John, looking up this word Yerah, it was fascinating to me. The root word for Jerusalem and for Torah. It means to flow as water, i.e. to rain. It means to lay or throw or to cast or to shoot an arrow. It also means figuratively to point the finger, like when you teach. When you're teaching something. And also it means to direct or to inform or to instruct or to teach or to shoot. But here's what's interesting. Knowing that root word that you found, I'm interested in the next just few sentences as we close in the passage. I heard a loud voice from the throne say, "See, God's Shekinah, His cloud of glory is with mankind, and He will live with them. They will be His people, and He Himself, God with them, will be their God. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There will no longer be any death, and there will no longer be any mourning, crying, or pain, because the old order has passed away." Then look at this. Then the one sitting on the throne said, "Look, I am making everything new. Also he said, write, these words are true and trustworthy. And he said to me, it is done. And in the Hebrew it says, I am the Aleph and the Tav. In other words, the first strong sign of the covenant, the beginning and the end. To anyone who is thirsty, what does the word Yerah mean? To flow as water. To anyone who is thirsty, I myself will give water free of charge from the fountain of life. He who wins the victory will receive these things, and I will be his God, and he will be my son. And that's where I want to wrap this and close this, is with that.
Don't think that covers those verses, however.
It doesn't.
Because there's tons of stuff here. But, you know, God has given us a promise. That is the good news. And he is explaining in the words Adam just read, a fulfillment. He's trying to give us just a little bit of gold dust, if you will, a little bit of value, a little bit of hope in what he has for us. And it's good news. That's what we're hoping for. It's not just this resurrected life, but it's a resurrected life living in his midst, isn't it? And it's going to be way cool. And then we need to fight for it. And in the fighting for it, we're dragging a whole bunch of other guys with us, because it's worth it. We need to get excited about something that lies in the future for all of us, whether we like it or not. Amen?
Amen.
So as John's saying, I do get excited reading these passages and what God describes, because we're all going to see it. We're all going to experience it. If you follow the Creator and you're in relationship with Him, we're all going to be there together. Is that right? So this is what's waiting for us. This is what's coming closer and closer. As we see things getting darker, this reality is coming that much closer to us. That's where we should live. That's where we should look forward to. I know it's tough as we face things in life, and we're afraid of responsibility, or we're afraid of, the spirit realm and what we might see, and we're afraid of what we have to face in ourselves. Let's get past it. This is what we should be looking forward to. I want to be there, right? Start reading that passage and how Jerusalem is described. 1,500 miles wide, 1,500 miles long, so on and so forth. A big square that's actually the entire Middle East. Okay, David's old kingdom that God promised to restore. Read how it's described, made to look all like diamond. It shines like a clear diamond, and gold, and the gates are made of pearl. And I mean, these are things beyond our imagining. We should be like, that's for me?
Wow.
Yeah! We should get excited and let that motivate us. Laura.
Can we turn the mic up, please?
You turn the mic up? Here we go. Can I turn it up?
If I'm not mistaken,
Let's turn it up. Start again.
if I'm not mistaken, you're Rob, the pictography is behold the work of man. I don't know if I can stick the word perfect in there, but if we behold the work of the perfect man, he's the living Torah, and his work is the New Jerusalem, that he's restoring his relationship with man.
That's clear.
Yeah.
Very good.
Well, the U represents God's hand.
Yeah.
So perhaps that would be a
That's right.
good pictographic understanding of that.
So any last questions?
But also, it should be the work of man, because it unlocks the key of life, doesn't it? So behold the work of the righteous man, because he's holy.
Go ahead.
Yeah, as you were describing the Jerusalem and the meaning behind it, I was sitting here thinking, it's like, well, what if it was Shalom Jeru? And it's like, you can't have the peace first You have to have the foundation first.
Yes.
It's like, and I was thinking of the fruit of the Spirit.
Love, joy, peace.
And you can't have one without the other. You have to be working on each one.
That's right. And what's the first fruit mentioned?
Love.
Love. That's right.
The other thing I thought of was that, you know, you got the raw and you added tav to it, right? To make Torah. And the idea then is that the Torah, the Yara, which means foundation. It's the foundation for the cross, the tav, remember?
The ancient
The ancient tav is shaped in the form of a cross. And where was this cross and the foundation for it? It was in Jerusalem. Lots of interesting ideas. It's all accidental though.
Oh, yeah, right.
So as we close, hold your questions. As we close, as you read these last passages, let it motivate you positively. Because throughout these passages, God gives a contrast. Here's the good, and by the way, those who are murderers, homosexuals, adulterers, idol worshipers, it'll say that. After every time he describes the good, he'll say, by the way, they're not included. They're on the outside. They're suffering. They don't get to enter. It says, nothing evil can enter the walls of the New Jerusalem or through the doors. And so keep this in mind. Let it be a motivation as we go through life now and we're tempted with evil to go, no, it's not worth it. It's a ruse. It's something to mislead. This is what's waiting for me in my relationship with God. This is waiting for me, and all I have to do, winning the victory, is enduring till the end. So let it motivate you. Get rid of the things that distract. Get rid of the things that draw you away from God. Let it help to motivate you and excite you. And as I'm always saying every week, tell people about it. Say, hey, you want to spend eternity in peace and light and love with no evil? Well, here, let me read you something. This is what it's going to look like. Let it motivate you. Amen? Amen. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you. We bless you and honor you. And Father, we are so excited and so grateful for all that you have prepared for us. And it's not just an empty city that is just walls itself, but it's that you will be dwelling there. And you have things for us. You have treasures for us. You have wonders you want to show us. You have relationship you want to interact with us with. So Father, we just thank you. And Father, I pray that you would embed deep in our hearts throughout the weeks, Lord, and the rest of our days, that our focus would be that reality. The reality that you have created for us a place where there is no more suffering, there is no more evil. It is all good, it is all light, it is all beauty, and you are there waiting for us. And so, Father, I just pray that as we leave today, that you would make that a reality in our lives. That we would walk the rest of our lives with that reality embedded in our mind and our hearts. And Lord, we just love you, we thank you, and we bless you. B'Shem Yeshua. Amen. Please rise. Now I can't wait, because in the New Jerusalem, our high priest, the Messiah, I can't wait when he stands up and he extends his hands like this, like God commanded the priest, the Kohen. And he says this blessing over us. So please join with me at the Kidney here outside. Yivorech Adonai v'yishmerecha. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chonecha. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift his countenance to you and grant you peace. So may be his will. Amen.